Hi there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Press for Truth TV. Today is Monday, February the 11th, 2013. And I don't know about you folks, but I am getting the feeling that things are really ramping up right now at an exponential rate in what would appear to be preparations for only God knows what's to come. But there's so many things in the news right now, I don't even know where to begin. We have China and Russia right now buying up the world's gold supply, completely stockpiling gold in preparations for potentially an economic crisis, a global economic catastrophe. They're stockpiling gold in what looks to be preparations for the worst. At the same time right now, we have President Barack Obama announcing the revival of CISPA, the cybersecurity bill, which many of you will recall. It was around this time last year that we were working very hard on exposing the problems with CISPA and effectively having that bill shelved. Well, now here we are a year later as Obama is trying to revive CISPA, and again, that's something we're going to have to be dealing with in the very, very near future once again. Meanwhile, news is spreading all over the world today that Pope Benedict is resigning from the papacy. First time in over 600 years that a pope is stepping down. Nothing strange about that. Nothing weird going on behind the scenes there, I'm sure. And in the midst of all this, right now as I speak, there are drones patrolling American soil right now, targeting an American citizen. The alleged cop killer Christopher Dorner is now is the target of U.S. drones. And in our first story today, coming out of Bloomberg, Putin turns black gold to bullion as Russia outbuys the world. When Vladimir Putin says the U.S. is endangering the global economy by abusing its dollar monopoly, he's not just talking, he's betting on it. Not only has Putin made Russia the world's largest oil producer, he's also made it the biggest gold buyer. His central bank has added 570 metric tons of the metal in the past decade, a quarter more than runner-up China, according to IMF data compiled by Bloomberg. The added gold is also almost triple the weight of the Statue of Liberty. The more gold a country has, the more sovereignty it will have if there is a cataclysm with the dollar, the euro, the pound, or any other reserve currency. Evgeny Fedorov, a lawmaker for Putin's United Russia Party in the lower house of parliament, said in a telephone interview in Moscow. And I'd certainly have to agree with that the more gold that a country has, the more sovereignty a country can retain in the face of global economic catastrophe. And that's why it's troubling to me that the Canadian government has virtually no gold. We have sold off all of our gold in the past couple of decades. So it might not be such a bad idea for you to get your hands on some of these tangible metals yourself. I know me personally, if I had money to invest right now, it would be in something tangible, something I can hold physically in my hand, not this fiat-based currency, which is just pulled out of thin air with the stroke of a pen. But once people start buying up the gold, folks, it's going to be like a domino effect. So you might want to get in on that now while we still have the chance. And in our second story, as we were saying, President Barack Obama is announcing the revival of CISPA. This just out. President Obama reportedly set to enact cybersecurity order as Congress revives CISPA. Bloomberg is reporting that the White House plans to introduce an executive order on cybersecurity sometime after the next week's State of the Union address. The order, which has been in the works for months at this point, would arrive after several high-profile attacks have highlighted the danger posted by online threats. Just last week, the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times revealed that they've been the victims of attacks thought to have originated in China, while Twitter announced it could have had as many as 250,000 user accounts compromised. So here we're being spoon-fed this idea that this is all about protecting your online security. Meanwhile, just one brief glance of any of these pieces of legislation will reveal to you the fact that this has nothing to do with that. This, in fact, is all about internet censorship. This is completely in line with their vision to block the free flow of information online and to better manage how people get their information online. So that's what this bill is all about. That's what it was about when it was first announced last year, and that's why we all made such a fuss about it and raised so much awareness and effectively had the bill shelved. But we knew the battle wasn't going to be over. We knew that this would be revived, and here we are a year later as they just announced the revival of CISPA. So that's once again something we're going to have to stay on top of in the next coming weeks as they try to pass this one again. And in our third story, again here we have Pope Benedict resigning from the papacy. It's shocking. News heard around the world today. Pope Benedict XVI in shock resignation. Pope Benedict set to resign at the end of this month after nearly 8 years as the head of the Catholic Church, saying he is too old to continue at the age of 85. The unexpected development, the first papal resignation in nearly 600 years, surprised governments, Vatican watchers, and even his closest aides. The Vatican says it expects a new pope to be elected before Easter. Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger became pope in 2005 after John Paul II's death. The BBC's David Wiley in Rome says the move has come as a shock, but adds that in theory there has never been anything stopping Pope Benedict or any other of his predecessors from stepping aside. Under the Catholic Church's governing code, canon law, the only conditions for the validity of such a resignation are that it be made freely and be properly published. But resignation is extremely rare. The last pope to step aside was Pope Gregory XII, who resigned in 1415 amid a schism within the church. And certainly some parallels can be drawn between the two popes. In recent times, Pope Benedict, just 8 years ago, when he became pope, was entering at a time when the child sex abuse scandals were really just breaking onto the mainstream and becoming public knowledge all across the world that this was a huge scandal going on within the Catholic Church. So that is something that Pope Benedict entered into 8 years ago and certainly has been dealing with ever since, and rightly so. Here's what he said about his resignation in his own words. The pontiff said, "After having repeatedly examined my conscience before God, I have come to the certainty that my strengths, due to an advanced age, are no longer suited to an adequate exercise of the patrine ministry. I am well aware that this ministry, due to its essential spiritual nature, must be carried out not only with words and deeds, but no less with prayer and suffering. However, in today's world, subject to so many rapid changes and shaken by questions of deep relevance for the life of faith, in order to steer the ship of St. Peter and proclaim the gospel, both strong of mind and body are necessary. Strength, which in the last few months has deteriorated in me to the extent that I have had to recognize my incapacity to adequately fulfill the ministry entrusted to me. For this reason, and well aware of the seriousness of this act, with full freedom I declare that I renounce the ministry of Bishop of Rome, successor of St. Peter, entrusted to me by the cardinals on 19th of April 2005, in such a way that as from 28th February 2013 at 8 o'clock p.m., the See of Rome, the See of St. Peter, will be vacant, and a conclave to elect the new Supreme Pontiff will have to be convoked by those whose competence it is. So, big changes are coming down the road in just the next month, especially for the over 1 billion followers of Catholicism. And certainly interesting times, folks. Incredibly interesting times ahead. And as I said in our last story for today, very interesting times are the fact that alleged cop killer Christopher Dorner is right now being targeted on American soil by American drones. This is just out today from MSN. Fugitive alleged killer is target of police drone. Christopher Dorner, a homicidal former cop currently on the run from LAPD, is a target of airborne drones on U.S. soil, an anonymous source told London's Daily Express. A senior police source told the Express the thermal imaging cameras the drones use may be our only hope of finding him on the ground. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. The fugitive has already killed 3 people, according to police, and has a $1 million bounty on his head. Dorner, who has military training, is believed to be hiding in the wilderness of California's San Bernardino's mountains, where locating him without air support may be all but impossible. And this search has been going on for quite some time right now, and the LAPD has already made some grave errors in regards to the search for Dorner. There was some cases of mistaken identity where in 2 separate instances some pickup trucks were wrongly identified as being Dorner's car, and the police shot up these trucks. Luckily nobody was killed, but these were huge mistakes recently made by the LAPD. Here's a report on that just recently came out.
When this blue truck, doing nothing more harmful than delivering the morning newspaper, came rolling down Red Beam Avenue in Torrance Thursday morning, the 2 women inside had no idea what they were driving into.
Too many gunshots to count, probably 30, 40 more gunshots. I can't imagine anybody lived through that many shots. It was horrifying to hear that. And I told my wife, in fact, I said, somebody just got killed.
71-year-old Emma Hernandez was shot in the back, and her daughter, Margie Carranza, was injured by the shattered glass, but both survived, and they've already hired an attorney.
There was no warning, there was no orders or no commands, just gunshots.
Tragically, we believe that this was a case of mistaken identity by the officers.
The case of mistaken identity happened when LAPD officers who were protecting the home of someone they believed may be a target of Christopher Dorner mistook the newspaper delivery truck for the truck police believed Dorner may be driving. It was a mistake that would be repeated moments later by Torrance police.
Officers responding to the location observed a black vehicle matching the description of Christopher Dorner.
When calls about those shots fired on Red Beam went out on the police radio, a Torrance patrol car responded, and while pulling into the same neighborhood, saw this pickup truck driving away. Again, officers thought it was Dorner, and again, it was not.
A collision occurred. Shortly thereafter, shots were fired. The officers that were involved are okay. No injuries. The person that was driving the suspect vehicle was not hit. He was not injured. And I'd like to personally thank him for his cooperation in this investigation.
Well, thank God nobody was killed in both of these cases of mistaken identity. But it begs the question, if the police are capable of making those kinds of mistakes, what kind of mistakes might we see from these targeted drone attacks? We have to remember these things are done incrementally. Right now, the drones are being used to allegedly just find the alleged criminal. But are we going to see a time when these drones seek out and target and execute criminals on American soil? And could this potentially lead to so-called collateral damage on American soil from American drone attacks? Certainly something to be concerned about. And folks, I'm not the kind of reporter to want to put out these kind of doom and gloom stories. It's not what I'm about. It's not what I do. But sometimes you just have to call it as you see it. And I'm looking at the news today, and as I said in the beginning, I get this feeling that things are just ramping up. And it's our duty to inform people that these things are going on. Because for your average Sally Soccer Mom or Joe Sixpack who are completely oblivious or unaware to these things, the fact of the matter is that unless there's enough people who realize that we have a problem here in the first place, nothing's ever going to change. So awareness is absolutely key at this point, and that's why I wanted to bring these stories to your attention. And that's also why we're here at Press for Truth really ramping up our game right now and trying to do the best of our ability to spread the information as best we can. And I wanted to remind folks before I go here today that I'm going to be heading out in a few days, traveling across Canada. I wanted to remind you the events that are going to be going on. I'll be in Montreal on the 15th, Ottawa on the 16th, London, Ontario on the 18th, Calgary, Alberta on the 19th, and I'll be in Vancouver on the 20th and 21st, and then Victoria, BC on the 22nd. So if you'd like to check out any of those events, there's information located in the links in the description, so you can check those out when you get a chance. But anyways, other than that, folks, that is all for today. I want to thank everybody for tuning in once again, and I'll see you all right back here tomorrow. Take care.